what to do when crucial employees leave. Is this an indicator for a bad news to come for a company? Should we be concerned? We're applying this thought to a specific example in our portfolio. Editas just announced that their chief scientific officer is leaving. So I want to discuss this topic. It's an important topic, particularly when you deal with technology companies. This is a Not Even Wrong podcast. It's January 11, 2021. This is Krim Delco. For the day, the fund is down 7.6%. The market's down 0.5%. For the year, we are up 22%. The market is up roughly 1%. We're outperforming by 21%. Today, the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference started. It's a virtual conference this year. It's a big conference, typically the big conference of the year. It starts in January. It's typically in San Francisco, and it covers healthcare across the board, in particular pharma and biotech, and all the big companies are there and all the small important startups. So our CRISPR index, our genomics companies, our synthetic bio companies, cell engineering, all these companies are either directly present or news comes around even if they're not present. So the point here is this is one of those conferences that we obviously monitor very closely. We are in particular interested in what's going on with the CRISPR companies, and we had some news from Editas today. Editas did confirm that some of their trials are on track, that they're able to deliver on that promise, but their chief scientific officer announced that he's leaving. And this is, of course, a sign of concern, in particular with a company like that. There's a couple of things to think about here. If you're a chief scientific officer of a company which has such great potential, like Editas, why would you leave? Why would you give up this upside? Why would you give up this opportunity? So there's possibility, or there's a way to think about this, which is, well, maybe they're not doing that well. Maybe their science isn't that great. Maybe this person doesn't see a potential to develop his or her personal career. In this case, it's a his, to stay there. Maybe it's just not interesting enough. Maybe the obstacles are too high. Maybe he's better off doing something else using the knowledge, and so on and so forth. Those are the things that we think about. And I mean, it's obvious by now that we're talking here about a lot of maybes. And the same way that this could be maybe a bad news, it just could be a good news. Maybe the company is going much faster and this person cannot catch up, and they need more talent, different talent. They want to expand. It's possible that because they had a large capital influx recently, that they want to go much faster, and this person is maybe more of a scientist and less of a manufacturing / scientist / engineer type. By the way, this happened with Tesla when the CTO, JB Straubel, left. Everybody was negative and scared, and it turns out that the company just went from more of a scientific approach to more of an engineering, execution, capital efficiency approach, driving down Wright's law and capital efficiency up and things like that, which just wasn't in the realm of what JB Straubel probably was very good at. On top of that, we now know that his involvement with QuantumScape probably could have been a reason why he chose to leave Tesla, because maybe there was a conflict also of strategic roadmap. So to summarize this particular event, so we have the CTO leaving, we have the chief scientific officer leaving of a company which is almost only science right now. So this is a very important part of the business, no question about it. And there is always this negative. And the stock, by the way, is down about 15% today because of this news. So clearly it's a bad news, and the market errs rather on the being rather saying, well, I'd rather be wrong by selling and then buy it back later than to have an explanation and then maybe try to neglect this piece of information. It is not a positive sign. By the way, it could also just be personal. In most cases, I don't have statistics about this, but in most cases, when highly important executives leave, it's actually personal. It's personal in the sense that they want to do something else. They want to relocate. They want to have a family situation is changing to the good or to the bad. Things like that are usually a lot more important than the stock market view of, oh, is this now a good stock or not? Because this is how we think. This is what we think as investors. Our first thought is always, well, should I now, if he leaves, why should I belong this company if he leaves? And that is a valid question. It's probably not the right question because, again, like we don't have the information to make the decisions like that person does. We never do. And yeah, that's probably the most I can say. I want to say one more thing, and this is to the companies out there, particularly to our portfolio companies. I would highly recommend you giving more detailed explanations for why this is happening and what the transition plan is. By the way, in this case, the transition plan looks a little bit haphazard because they're saying that the search is on. So that means this must have come a little bit out of the blue. And that is also, I think, a negative factor because they had some issues. Maybe there is some data that he doesn't like, or it's just a management strategic type situation, or even personal. Maybe he doesn't like the CEO or the CFO or something like that. But just judging by the nature of the transition, which is as formulated in the press release, we are initiating the search. That means they're not prepared. And that, of course, is also a little bit of a negative. So, again, to summarize, I think highly important executives are always, we'd rather have them on than not on, but with innovative startups and disruptive startups, we're also in a business of constant change, of constant adaptation, and therefore also the need to change leadership when necessary. And this could be one of those cases. I think rapid change is a good thing. Too rapid change is not a good thing. So the optimization, this is what really great companies, good managers, good top boards and all that world-class stuff that we always want to be able to invest in. That's what they actually are able to do, which is find the right balance between rapid growth and change. You don't want to have the same employees all the time. I've experienced that, let's say, with the newspaper I used to work for, that they never really changed their employees. That was almost like a Japanese style. You work there until you retire, and that just doesn't work in this day and age. You have to adapt, you have to change leadership, personal sacrifices have to be made, and often it's personally maybe tragic, but for the business and for the future of the company and for the future of all the other employees, it is the better way. So in this case, again, this is one of the companies, Editas, which is at the forefront of science, at the forefront of digitizing biology, of digitizing life sciences, using genomics, using gene editing and CRISPR in particular to really drive science to the next level. We are extremely positive on this situation because there is science, there is technology, there's engineering, there's a instantiation of new knowledge, of new unique knowledge, and therefore the potential for enormous value creation. So to summarize and to be very clear, we don't have a problem with executives changing companies. In fact, we require that. A company that doesn't have enough turnover of executives could be too stale. They could be, for some reason, not ready for change or adaptation. Companies like Editas or any of the hard driving new innovative companies that we invest in have that problem, that they need to readjust their talent, their skill, their resources, their assets to the problems that they're solving. And like we discussed so many times in the innovation stack concept, the innovation stack requires new ideas and new problems to be solved. And once those problems are solved, there are new problems to be solved. And sometimes the existing executives could not be the right people to drive the company forward. So we require a certain amount of turnover, and we also, of course, require a certain amount of stability. And this is the sort of the Goldilocks balance that every company, in our opinion, has to be able to strike. Every successful company, every wealth generator has to be able to strike that balance. And in the case of Editas, of course, we don't have enough detail to know. We also don't have enough history of the company. The company has had a checkered management history of also the current CEO is a person that came on later on. So this is not a founder story a la Tesla. However, we believe the technology behind the company and the IP is strong enough to carry the company further into value creation. Thank you.